the once sacred turf of television evangelism has been slipping and sliding of late due to the disillusioning scandals of some of the key players. First, the sexual indiscretion of PTL leader Jim Bakker came to light when he admitted his affair with Church Secretary Jessica Hahn. And here is what another television evangelist, Jimmy Swaggart, had to say about Bakker's affair.
Then we got this soap opera.
Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. This is
Former Fundy,
and these are the
Swag.
days of our lives.
I've seen you operate.
They are grievous chasms of torture as hellfire sin.
Saying exactly whose chasm were we sending it?
Debbie's.
Some of the things I've seen, he's a totally different person than when he came in to see me. That's the real person I think he was.
If anyone's life is a soap opera, it's certainly Jimmy Swaggart. Hi and welcome back to Former Fundy. I am a former fundamentalist Christian turned atheist who just enjoys reacting to bullshit and unpacking my religious trauma. This video covers the sordid tale of Jimmy Swaggart's life. I stumbled across the tip of this iceberg while doing episode 4 of my Sunday Scaries series, and it was so dramatic that I felt that it deserved its own separate video. As I had stated in that video, in 1988, Swaggart was accused of a sexual scandal involving a prostitute. Not too long after that, only 3 years later, he was caught again. Well, what I didn't tell you was that the whole situation was incredibly dramatic. So let's go back to 1986, 2 years before Swaggart himself was implicated in a scandal. A tale of two pastors. This other pastor's name was Marvin Gorman. Reverend Marvin Gorman was another Assemblies of God pastor in the same area as Jimmy Swaggart. Maybe they saw each other as rivals since they were working similar territory. Swaggart had found out that Gorman was having an affair. And so Swaggy Boy goes public and accuses Marvin of having several affairs. Which, of course, caused Marvin to lose his credentials with the Assemblies of God, and it destroyed his ministry. Marvin's first attempt for some revenge against Swaggart was a lawsuit for defamation and conspiracy, which did work. The court had decided to award damages amounting to $10 million, but was reduced to just a cool $1.75 million in an out-of-court settlement after an appeal.
Meanwhile, what kinds of things did he ask you to do? When he picked you up first on the street and you got in the car, he asked you if you were a police officer.
Yeah.
And you proved to him you weren't.
Yeah, I got in his car and raised my glass, proved I wasn't.
Well, how would that prove you weren't, by the way?
Because see, most cops aren't supposed to expose themselves, or they're not allowed to touch.
Well, it's a tale as old as time, Ulysses. Boy meets girl, boy falls for girl.
Girl flashes tits to prove she's not a cop.
Whoa.
Swaggart was seeing a prostitute, Deborah Murphy, and I'll use her words to let you know what type of client he was.
After the first encounter in the car, and he masturbated in the car, I guess, right? What happened then when he would go to meet you in the motel room?
He would just, he'd more or less do the same thing. He just want to watch me pose, do different poses for him. He would want me, just right at first, that was about all it was posing. Then later, he wanted me to start using a sexual toy on myself, and he'd want me to, he asked me several times if I had another woman I could get so he could watch both of us. But I didn't know anybody, so I never did do that.
You say he was cheap in terms of the money that he wanted to spend.
Yeah, he never spent. When I first met him, he offered me $10, and I told him no. So he come back later on that day with $20, and for all he wanted to do, I said, well, okay, $20. He was quick anyway, so I did it. But I could never get any more money out of him.
Now, it turns out that one of Deborah's other clients was Marvin Gorman's son, Randy Gorman. And one fateful day, Deborah spilled the beans. And Randy, who she had no idea who he was, found out that one of her other clients was in fact Jimmy Swaggart. So of course he told his dad.
You had a relationship, though, with a police officer who was Marvin Gorman's son.
Yes.
Marvin Gorman being the man that Swaggart brought down by accusing him of sexual forays, right? Another preacher with Assemblies of God. How long did you see the police officer who was Gorman's son?
I dated him about the same time. I met him around, I guess it was I think it was right after I met Swaggart. Yeah.
And did this police officer know it was Jimmy Swaggart?
Well, not to right off, because I dated this police officer, I just seen him very few times. In the last few months before we got caught, I had told him that I was dating Jimmy Swaggart because I'd told a lot of people. And he got real interested, and started asking me questions and stuff, and I couldn't understand why. But
you didn't know he was Gorman's son at that point?
No, I didn't know he was Randy Gorman.
Did you know that, you didn't know that was his name? Oh,
no.
You didn't make the connection?
No, I didn't even know his real name. He didn't tell me his real name.
No.
He always used another name, but I don't remember what that was.
Was he a police officer who was just in the market for a girl? Or was...
Oh, yeah, he was a regular client because he never knew I dated Swaggart until I said something. Then he became curious and he started coming around more, calling me every day.
Is he unhappy with the fact that the world knows this now, that he was seeing you?
I don't know. I haven't talked or spoken to anybody.
And it turns out, not only was Randy Marvin Gorman's son, he was also a cop. And so Marvin Gorman then hired his son, Randy, and his son-in-law to watch the hotel that Deborah worked out of. So they spent their time collecting the evidence to show that the room was used for prostitution, evidence of men, coming and going from the room. And then the next time that Swaggart arrived, they were ready. They slashed his tires. Now, I don't know if they punctured, or just let all the air out. However, they did empty his tires so that he couldn't get away. They called Marvin to come over. And when Jimmy left, they took pictures of him. Marvin confronted Swaggy Boy. And now here the details differ depending on who's telling it. But allegedly, and again all of this is alleged, they didn't go public with the information right away. They used it as blackmail. And Swaggart was meant to publicly apologize to Marvin Gorman and start the process to have him reinstated into the Assemblies of God. Now, Gorman waited an entire year for Swaggart to do this because Swaggart promised he would do it. And after waiting, he wrote another letter to Swaggy saying, "Time's up, Swaggy boy," which didn't respond. He got ghosted. Haven't we all? And so Gorman snitched and released the information and the pictures. And really, it was a great deal for a lot of people involved. A great deal to the world because Jimmy Swaggart lost some of his influence and was stripped of his credentials. And it gave Deborah Murphy a chance to leave prostitution, which she had wanted to do for a while, because now she could make some money on sharing her story. So once he was caught and he knew that it was over, he was going to get into trouble, he gave his famous "I have sinned" speech.
I have sinned against you, my Lord. I have sinned against you. And I beg your forgiveness.
He doesn't give any details to his congregation. He seems genuinely remorseful, However, I would assume he's remorseful that he got caught and not actually remorseful about his actions, considering he went and did it again. And the second time, he didn't even seem upset or repentant at all. It's that time that he tells his congregation that the Lord told me it's flat none of your business. And he left it to his son to let people know that he'd be temporarily stepping down for a time of healing and counseling. And if that counseling is the same counseling that my father was put through several years ago when he had a similar moral failing, I can tell you it's bullshit. It's not done by a licensed professional. It's just done by the local presbyter for the area that he would be in. Now, as I said, we don't know if he's still continued in this behavior. Maybe since he hasn't gotten caught again, he stopped, or maybe he just got better at covering it up. And that is the disgusting tale of Jimmy Swaggart. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye.